We're on lesson 7 of chapter 11, which is solving multi-step inequalities. First we're going to use two-step inequalities, then we'll solve multi-step inequalities, then we'll solve a real-world problem. So here's an example of a multi-step inequality. Celia joins a CD club that offers its members early releases of new CDs. She pays $16 per month and $12 for each CD she orders. If Celia has $50 to spend on CDs, does she have enough money to rent 3 CDs? If this is put into an inequality, Celia's money, which is $50, needs to be at least, meaning greater than or equal to, the $16 per month that she has to pay, plus the $12 per CD. So to solve something like this, you could subtract the $16 per month from her total. So the amount of money she would have left, $34, would need to be greater than or equal to $12 per CD times the number of CDs, and she's hoping it's going to be enough for 3. So she divided by 12 on both sides to get x by itself. 34 divided by 12 is about 2.85. So that means x, the number of CDs, would be less than or equal to 2.85, meaning that she does not have enough money to rent 3 CDs. So let's try a few of these two-step inequalities. It says solve, then graph each solution on a number line. We have x over 5 minus 15 is less than 10. So if we can get the x over 5 by itself by adding the 15 to both sides, and that will get rid of these numbers over here. So 10 plus 15 is 25. X divided by 5 is less than 25. We can undo the division here by multiplying times 5 on both sides. So dividing by 5 and multiplying by 5 cancel each other out. 25 times 5 is 125. So x is less than 125. If we're going to plot that out, we can make this 100, for example, and count by tens, 110, 120. Since it's less than and not less than or equal to, we put an open circle at 125. And we're going to the left because it's less than 125. Now let's solve this one. We have 42 is less than or equal to y divided by negative 9 plus 30. So we would subtract 30 from both sides to get the y over negative 9 by itself. So that gives us positive 12 is less than or equal to y divided by negative 9. So to get y by itself, we'd have to multiply times negative 9 to cancel out that division. So we're multiplying both sides by negative 9. Remember what happens when we multiply by a negative number. This is going to be flipped. This is what we learned last lesson, so if you missed that, go watch that. So for rewriting this here, the multiplication and division cancel out, leaving us with y on the right side. It's now going to be less than or equal to 12 times negative 9, which is negative 108. So y would be less than or equal to negative 108. So if we have negative 100 and we have negative 110, we would place our closed circle at negative 108 because it's less than or equal to, and we would make this go down because it's smaller than that. Now let's solve these multi-step inequalities. We have 3x minus 12 minus x is greater than negative 18. So we can simplify this just like we do when we do multi-step equations. We have 3x here. We have a negative 1x here. Remember, always take that sign in front of the letter. So we have 3x minus 1 would be 2x. 2x minus 12 is greater than negative 18. To get 2x by itself, we add 12 to both sides. So if we write it over here, we're just left with the 2x because these cancel out. That's greater than negative 18 plus 12 would be negative 6. Getting x by itself, we divide by 2 to get 1x. So x is greater than negative 6 divided by 2, which is negative 3. So if we have 0 here, count by ones. We would have an open circle at negative 3 because it's only greater than, and it would be greater than going this direction. Now we have one where we can use distributive property. So we have negative 5 times x plus 2 minus 7 is less than or equal to 38. So when we use distributive property, as we learned before, we distribute this negative 5. So we have negative 5 times x, giving us negative 5x. We drop that plus sign down. Negative 5 times 2 would be negative 10. Then we have negative 7 minus 7 is less than or equal to 38. So we can't simplify anything with this yet, but we can simplify this negative 10 and negative 7. If we combine that, that makes negative 17. So we have negative 5x minus 17 is less than or equal to 38. If we add 17 to both sides, that would give us negative 5x is less than or equal to 55. So now we need to get x by itself by dividing by negative 5. And remember what happens when we divide by a negative? This is going to get flipped because the opposite is true. So that gives us 1x over here, a positive 1x, because these cancel out, is greater than or equal to now. 55 divided by negative 5 is negative 11. So as we plot this out, we have 0, and let's count by tens here. So we can go to negative 11, put a closed circle there because it's greater than or equal to, and then the greater than would tell us to go this direction. Now let's solve a real-world problem. It says the 83 members of the Newman Middle School Band are trying to raise at least $5,000 to buy new percussion instruments. They have already raised $850. How much should each student still raise on average to meet the goal? So we need to find how much each student needs to raise. So that's going to be money. We'll put D for dollar, I guess, for our variable. It needs to be at least $5,000. At least is greater than or equal to. So our dollars need to be greater than or equal to 5,000. So whatever each student raises, which is the D for dollars for each student, we can multiply that times 83 because there's 83 band members. In addition to that, they've already raised $850, meaning that whatever they raise here, they can add $850 to that, and then that would get them above 5,000 if they needed to. So here's what we have. $850 plus the 83 students raising whatever they raise on average needs to be greater than or equal to 5,000. So as we solve this, we can factor in that $850 they've already raised. So we subtract $850 from both sides. So the 83 students raising whatever they raise on average is greater than or equal to, now it's $4,150. So after that $850 is taken away, they only have to raise that much now. Then to solve for each student what they have to raise, we could divide by the 83 students. So let's do that division here. 4,150 divided by 83, that's going to equal 50. So the amount of dollars that each student needs to raise needs to be greater than or equal to $50.